what or who is in the image.
Well, that's true, but I did find a building I particularly liked, and I dropped it into there, and it told me it was in Norway because I like architectural design. So it told me the name of the building. And that was
It
cool.
depends on the name of the file of the photo that somebody assigned to it.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Well, it's 8:35. Before I actually begin the video that I have selected from a few suggestions that I got. I didn't get as many suggestions as I hoped. But I did get a couple of suggestions that I think are worth commenting on and tell you where to go read them, because they're not videos. They were links to articles that are particularly interesting. The main one being, hold on a minute. I want to change what I have. What I'm going to share my screen on. Yeah, here we go. Okay, I'm going to share my screen about this because the article is about how to save yourself some money. Because if you don't do this thing, which is essentially to throw out your stuff in Google Drive, you will end up using a lot of, I'm now sharing my personal Google Drive. I also have one of the seniors computer group that I share. But if you look over here where my cursor is now, I have used up 9.95 gigabytes of the 15 gigabytes that I am allowed for this Gmail address. And this time yesterday, it was almost 11. But I spent some time last night going through things here. I'm now scrolling down through. These are items that have been saved to my Google Drive.
Am I the only one that's not seeing anything on the shared screen?
Apparently so, Stan, because I can see it.
I see it.
Okay. Point is that each one of these items is saved in my Google Drive. And you can look, if you go into your Google Drive and scroll down and click on one of these, if you click on it, as I'm doing right here, it tells you about that item and who has access, and then the file details, what type of file it is, and how many bytes or megabyte or kilobytes or megabytes. And I had about 20 files in here yesterday, each of which was between 50 and 60 and 70 megabytes. And I got rid of all of those. You just click on them, and when you're sure that it's not something you can't live without, you right click on it like this, and you go down here and click on remove, and it disappears. Well, it doesn't. It goes into the trash, and you have to empty the trash. The trash is emptied every 30 days if you just leave it alone. But the article is now in the bits and bytes section of the Seniors Computer Group website. Does anybody need to be shown where that is?
I think they could probably find it, Hank.
Deadly silence. Thank you. Okay, that was one of the things, and there's another one in there that's worth reading. It's I can't remember what it's about right now, but it's in the bits and bytes section, and it's worth your time. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing this.
Okay, thank you.
So Hank, I had a question.
Yeah.
I think, they don't, you said save money. So I think you get up to that 15 free, but if you use more than 15, then you have to pay for it. Is that correct?
That's correct. And if you get up close to 15, Google will begin pinging on you and saying, don't you want to buy some more space?
Which is
So,
their,
You
which
can
is their-
resist that, but you get to a point where you can't save anything anymore in your Google Drive.
yeah, well,
What's the additional storage cost?
I don't know. I'm not going to go there.
Well, it might be minimal. I mean, I'm just curious.
I would suggest you Google it.
No, you don't have to. You can web search it.
Whatever your preference is.
Right.
Some people choose to
Oh, let's see.
DuckDuckGo it.
I do it. I DuckDuckGo it since 2009.
Here we go.
Back to Hank.
Back to Hank, who is about to share his screen and run the video that I picked for today about QR codes.
I follow this guy. I like this guy.
Kevin Stratford, I think it is.
Hi everyone, my name is Kevin. Today I want to run through a quick tutorial showing you how you can insert a QR code into any Microsoft Office product, whether it's Word, Excel, or PowerPoint. Why would you ever want to insert a QR code? Well, let's say that you're in Microsoft PowerPoint and you're presenting in front of an audience. At the very end of your presentation, you want people to fill out a survey or you want them to go to a certain website. Well, you could have people look at the website URL and type it into their phone, but that takes a long time and people might type in the wrong address and it might not get to your survey. Instead, what you could do is you could show a QR code. Your audience members can hold up their phone and then easily navigate to that URL that you want to share by using a QR code. Now, QR codes aren't natively available, meaning that they don't come out of the box with Word, Excel, or PowerPoint. Instead, we are going to use an add-in, and I'll show you step by step how you can do that. As full disclosure, before we jump into this, I work at Microsoft as a full-time employee. All right, well, let's jump on the PC and add a QR code. Here I am on my PC and I have the latest and greatest version of Microsoft PowerPoint open. This is the version that comes with Microsoft 365. However, as long as your version of Word, Excel, or PowerPoint supports add-ins, you should be able to add this add-in. So right here on my PowerPoint slide, let's say that I have a large slide deck that I'm presenting at, let's say, a conference, and on my very last slide, I want to show a picture of myself with my YouTube address, and maybe I ask people, hey, if you enjoyed my presentation, why don't you go ahead and subscribe to me on YouTube? I could have people simply type in this URL in their web browser, but that seems like a lot of work. Instead, why don't I insert a QR code? To insert a QR code, what I do is I go up onto my bar on top, up on these pivots, and to insert, I click on the one that says insert. And if I go over into the middle here, I see two different options. One is get add-ins and the other is my add-ins. Now, in this case, I don't yet have the QR code insert app, and so I'm going to click on get add-ins. However, once I install it, what I can do is I could click on the option that says my add-ins. So let's go ahead and I'm going to click on get add-ins. And by default, it's going to drop me in the store view. Now, just because it's called store doesn't mean you have to pay for it, because this is a free add-in. So what we could do is click on search and then simply type in QR and then hit the search icon. The first one is the one we want. It's called QR for Office. It generates QR codes for us into any type of Office document. So let's go ahead and add this on. And so it's going to ask me to agree to the license terms and the privacy policy. Seems reasonable to me. Let's click on continue. Once I click on continue, what you'll see happens is QR for Office pops up over on the right hand side. Now let's say I didn't yet have it open. What I could do is, once again, I go up to insert and then I click on my add-ins. When I click on my add-ins, this pulls up all of my Office add-ins, and you'll see here that I have a new add-in on here called QR for Office. If I click on that and then click on add, that too will also open up this pane on the side. Now what I want to do is I have my photo here, I have the text down here, I want to insert a QR code right in this space. What I'm going to do is, this is a website address, so I'm going to go ahead and highlight it, copy it with Control-C, and then I'm going to go ahead and paste it in here to generate a QR code. Now if I click over on this drop down list, you'll see all the different types of QR codes that I can insert. I could insert a website starting with HTTP, or a secure website where I include the S. I could insert a mail address, telephone, SMS, geo, or even a custom. In this case it's a website URL, so I'm going to go with http:// and then I typed in my YouTube URL. I have a few options here. I could set the color for my QR code. I could also set the background color, and I could even set the size. Now I'm going to be putting this on a slide, so I want it to be pretty large, and here I can see approximately what it's going to look like. I see how many pixels, so this will be 290 by 290 pixels, and this is where it's going to take people. And once I'm satisfied with that, I could click on insert, and then it inserts a QR code onto my slide. I'll position it right here next to my photo. This will be a nice way to finish up my presentation. And now let me pull out my phone and I'll show you how this works. So here I have my phone open, I have my iPhone, and I'm going to click into the camera app and I'm going to aim it at my slide, and right away it detects that there is a QR code and it's telling me to open it in YouTube. And so I'm going to click on OK, and it drops me directly on my YouTube page, just like I expected. Here I am back on my PC in PowerPoint, and like I said before, you could use this QR code generator not only in PowerPoint but in any Microsoft Office app. I'm going to open up Word, and here I've also inserted a QR code into Microsoft Word, and I'm going to pull up Microsoft Excel, and here too I've also inserted a QR code. Now the nice thing is you could use this QR code generator, you could even copy it here and paste it elsewhere. You could put it in whatever type of file that you want. You could save it as an image. Alright, well that was a quick tutorial of how you could insert QR codes into Word, Excel, or PowerPoint. And this way you can make it really easy for your audience to get to whatever type of destination you want them to go to without needing to type in any type of long address. If this video helped you learn how you could create your own QR code, please give this video a thumbs up. If you want to see future videos like this, hit that subscribe button. That way you'll get a notification anytime new content like this comes out. And lastly, if you want to see me cover any other topics in the future, leave a comment down below. I'll add it to my list of videos to create. Alright, well thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.
And there we go.
That was great, Hank.
Thank you, Hank. Stan,
Yes,
I believe you have created a QR code, maybe through a website, without having to go through Microsoft Office and add-ins. Is that correct? Your microphone is muted.
yes, that's true.
Did you
But
make
I'm using
share your
Microsoft
screen?
products, so I
Excuse me.
might have used Microsoft to do that.
Stan, excuse me. Can you hear me? You're sharing your screen. Did you mean to share your screen?
Yeah, because I wanted to just show an example. Here's me using the QR code in the Walkabout newsletter. It appears once here to join our Zoom meeting, and then down at the bottom, I have another one to go to the website, Walkabout website. That's just an example of how to use it. I did it, so it must be easy. So I would suggest you just Google create QR code, and that will help you.
Thank you.
The other thing that you need to check is to make sure that your phone or whatever you're using to read it has, you know, a camera that has a QR reading app as well as that. Things like iPhones and new Android tend to have that built in. Some of the older ones don't.
If you don't, I think you can go to Google Play and search for just read QR or something like that, and you will find an app.
Yeah.
That'll download and put on your phone.
Yeah, there tends to be
Wow.
dozens of those apps to choose from, and they all seem to work. Some of them come with annoying ads.
Okay. Is there any more discussion about QRs and QR codes and how to get rid of your excess stuff on your Google Drive page?
Willie
have a
has
question,
his
Hank.
virtual hand up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that within the Chrome browser, you can just right click on any web page and it'll say create a QR code for this page, and it'll automatically generate that QR code. Also, Edge has that capability as well. I don't know any, excuse me, I don't know if any other browsers. I didn't try them. I just tried Edge and Chrome, but it's very easy. You don't have to do an add-in or anything.
Thank you, Willie. Sharon?
Yeah, I have a question. If it's tying into saving money, isn't does a QR code use more data? Have you
Does
done
the
a
QR
test where you've sent it with the QR code or just with the hyperlink, and to see the difference in the storage space?
It's just an image.
Yeah, I
I know,
think
but images take more, don't they?
It's a tiny little file. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Hank's comment about saving money had to do with the Google Drive storage
Okay, only?
space. Yeah, and if you exceed the 15 gigabyte allotment per account, that you would then need to pay to have more storage.
And it depends a lot on what you're using your Google Drive for. Some people use it basically as a backup, in which case, you know, if it's a backup, that's what you don't want to delete stuff from. Other people have other ways of doing backup. And so sometimes what you do is you say, okay, it's taking up more room on my Google Drive. I'm going to move it off to some external hard drive and then get it off my Google Drive. I still have a backup, but it's not Google Drive doing it. So you just have to, you know, before you delete something, make sure that if you want to get it back ever, it's stored someplace that you know.
Yeah, my situation illustrates that because I have two Google Drives, one for me and one for the seniors computer group. I put things on the seniors computer group drive like our minutes. When I get the minutes from, I used to get them from Miriam and, excuse me, Alice, and now from David, I put those minutes as an item on the Google Drive for the seniors computer group. And then I go to my website or our website and put a link in the section of our website that says minutes. And the link goes to that place in the seniors computer group's Google Drive. And when I looked at the storage situation for the senior computer group's Google Drive, I wasn't anywhere near 15 gigabytes. I think I was just below one gigabyte. And I've got every set of minutes for a couple or 3 years. Those things do not take up very much space. When I put a video on my Google Drive, uploading it to YouTube, it eats space like crazy. I have some videos that are 700, 800, 900 megabytes.
So in that case, if you have a video that's 1 gigabyte big, you could fit 15 videos and then you're entirely filled your Google space.
I got dumped there for a minute, but I'm back. Okay, I think it's time to shift to Q&A, unless there's something else about QR codes or
Sharon put
Google Drives.
Sharon put the price for the Google Drive over there in the chat.
$2 more a month for 100 gigabytes. That's not a lot.
$2 a month?
Yep. Sometimes we're penny wise and pound foolish.
But it's the per month. Everybody is trying to get you to subscribe to something. Do not download, just subscribe and we'll keep you up to date.
And
Money.
and they'll keep that little straw into your wallet that keeps sucking the money out.
Yeah. Slurp. Okay. Q&A is open. Please click reactions down at the bottom and then raise hand. Nobody has any problems? Nobody has any questions? My, it's going to be a short meeting today.
I didn't put my hand up, but I have a quick question. What's everybody recommending as far as upgrading to 11 at this point?
Ross was suggesting you don't need to if you don't need to,
Okay, and that's still the case.
One of the things
as of last week.
Oh, okay, thank you.
one of the things I considered for a presentation this morning, although I think it was text, not video, was no, I guess it was video. It was a video that said you wouldn't believe how many things that Windows 11 puts in various places all over the world about you when you open Windows 11 for the first time. When you open Windows 11 for the first time, even if you're not yet connected to the internet, Windows 11 starts sending information about you to Microsoft, for example.
And there's no way to avoid that, correct?
That's correct.
And one of the things that, they're getting just like they're trying to get subscriptions, they're also trying to get you to sign in using your Microsoft account or whatever it is. There apparently are ways to have your Windows 11 run on a local account and not use your Microsoft account, but it's not the standard way. It's not the easy thing to do. The easy thing to do is just join the Borg and get a Microsoft account and use it.
And the other thing to do about
I think Hank's getting dumped. Why don't you go ahead, Miriam?
Yes, this morning as I was printing out the crossword puzzle from the newspaper so I could work it, I got a message from my printer that says it has a print head problem and it refuses to print now. Does anybody know anything I can do, or do I have to take it into the shop?
Could you give us the brand of printer?
HP.
And is it?
HP inkjet.
Thank you. That was my next question.
Right.
Miriam, do you have HP Smart app on your computer for
Yes.
maintaining it and such?
Yes, I do have it.
Has it indicated anything about that error message?
What do you mean indicated? The message came, now I can't, I think it came in a little window down at the bottom right-hand corner of my screen, and it appeared on the screen from the printer. But I haven't tried running Smart App. Does it have some repair capability?
Offhand, I don't know. I just asked if you have it, and I would say that would be my first point of attack is to see what smart TV, smart HP or whatever the app is. I don't have it in front of me.
HP Smart, it's called.
HP Smart, and see if it has anything to say about it. If there's any troubleshooting options on it.
David, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, I think with inkjet printers, especially if you don't use them all the time or don't use a particular color all the time, sometimes there's something on there that's called a head cleaning operation that you can do, and that will basically run all the heads, make sure the ink is flowing properly. That helps sometimes. Sometimes you can replace the ink cartridge that's having a problem, but occasionally it's not in the cartridge, it's in the head, and that is I'm not sure what to do about that other than to take it into someplace. And sometimes the printers are inexpensive to the point that it's cheaper to get it something new than to try to get an old one fixed. So
Yeah, this is a relatively new printer. The print heads at one time were part of the cartridge. Are they no longer part of the cartridge?
I thought for HPs, they generally were part of the cartridge, so replacing the cartridge may solve it. On Epson printers, at least many years ago, they were built into the printer and the ink cartridge just had ink.
Yeah, the cartridges are expensive, so it may be that the print head is in there. Okay.
That's quite possible.
Well, the last time, when you speak of did you speak of the drum? Were you talking about the
No
drum?
no drum. It's not a
drum.
laser printer.
No, okay, right. I know the last time I had to replace the drum on the Walkabout printer, it came with two cartridges, two ink laser cartridges, and a drum for like 20 or 30 bucks. I was surprised that it was so cheap through Amazon. And it included more ink too.
But just to clarify, that was a laser printer using toner, not an inkjet printer using ink.
Yes, my apologies, yes.
But one thing I would suggest though is try, if there's a maybe in your HP Smart or something like that, if there's something that says, clean heads, try that first before you go and buy anything.
Right. Thank you.
I noticed that we have more participants than we did when we started. So I'm going to say again what I said at the beginning of this. I got several suggestions about things to talk about this morning, but some of them were print items, not videos that I could show as I usually do. So, but they were interesting. So I put them in the bits and bytes section of our website. If you don't know how to get there, ask, but I think most people do. One of them was get your act together and start cleaning up your Google Drive and taking some things out of there before you end up having to buy more drive.
Pat, did you want to speak?
Pat,
You'll
you're
need to
muted.
unmute your microphone.
Okay, well, that didn't take too long. Okay, I have all sorts of issues with the computer and I'm working on it. But one of the things that came up lately is the fact that I have to shut my mail off on my iPhone in order to access the mail on my computer. And I was wondering, I kind of printed up, it says mail cannot access your mailbox information because it's already in use. And I have it on, I have to turn my iPhone off in order to get the mail on my computer. Does that make sense?
I think that's got to be a configuration issue, the way you have it set up, Pat, because it isn't, you can set it up so that the email is basically run through iCloud, so all your devices can get to them simultaneously.
Okay, so what am I supposed to do about that?
Get somebody who knows how to set that up for you. If you don't know how to do it, or go into the Apple store if you want with your phone and just talk to them about it.
This is something that just like popped up. I mean, this is something new within the last couple of weeks.
There have been iOS updates, I know, just last week, so maybe it has created a problem that didn't used to be there.
Oh, yeah, that's a possibility. Okay, all right, thanks.
They
And
have phone support too. You don't have to
another
go to the
option
store.
is to just dial 611 on your phone and ask the question there.
What's 611?
I think that's more for your service provider for your cell phone, not so much for the device per se.
You can call Apple and phone support and they can screen share with you.
Yeah, that's what I usually do. Okay. I thought it might be something simple where I didn't have to call them. But thank you.
I have a question about printers. When you dispose of a printer, we have to make sure that everything is erased from the hard drive and everything stored in there because of the privacy information. Has anyone done that?
What type of printer are you referring to that
Does
would
it
have
matter?
a hard drive?
Does it matter?
Talking computers, or are you talking
No.
printers?
No, printer.
You have a printer with a hard drive in it?
No, I just know that well, I have a wireless printer, a Brother, and and before you dispose of items, you're supposed to make sure that everything's erased from the somewhere, the mechanics within it.
Is it a multi-function printer that can also
Yes.
copy and scan? Okay, now we're talking a different beast, which
Animal,
is as
okay.
opposed, yes, whatever, instead of just a printer. Printer,
Okay.
I don't think would have any storage per se that would be retained.
Okay,
A multi-function device, particularly if you've been using it to do faxes, which may not have been the case, they may store content for faxes. I don't think they
Okay.
do it for copies or scanners or printing.
The only other thing is that you may have some configuration information in there if there's, phone numbers or other things. But yeah, hopefully on the screen, there's probably a factory reset or something like that.
okay. Okay, thanks.
Some
Thanks for
copies,
the clarification about multifunction.
some copiers store images. Most of them don't.
But I would look for something that says factory reset
Okay,
before you send that away. That should get rid of any configuration that you've put in there that knows anything about your network or other things.
and when you take to like those, a couple times a year, they have recycling centers where you can dump off your electronics. That's what I wanted to make sure that I would do before I would go there with that item.
I think this would be interesting to a lot of people. One of the things you can probably do is just go to Google and say, how do I reset my printer to a factory status and get rid of everything that's contained in it?
I think that's going to depend on
See what
very
Google
major,
says.
it's going to depend on the vendor of that particular printer. So I
Yeah.
would probably try to go to the vendor's
Gotcha.
website.
Go to the Brother for in my example, go to Brother. Gotcha.
Or, I mean, I presume there's buttons and a little display on the device. Is
Oh,
that
there's
correct?
so many buttons. The buttons have buttons.
So I think you should be able to get into a menu on it and walk through it, and you can
Sure.
see if there's anything, and you could probably reset it right at the printer.
Yeah, just wanted to make sure.
But if you're not sure which buttons to press, go to the website. They can hopefully tell you.
Gotcha. And does anyone know about a little more about fingerprinting on websites? It's cookies are easier to get rid of than fingerprinting. That's where you go to the website and they track all of your movements as well. It's called fingerprinting. Willie, do you know anything about it?
Do you think that's involved in cookies in your web browser?
No, it's a separate, if it's a separate function, you have cookies and there's also fingerprinting that companies are now using to follow you around.
Yeah, well, I think it's while you're at the website,
Right,
they may be basically watching where your mouse goes and how long it lingers in various places.
correct.
And I don't know, you know, it would be interesting to see if there's a way to, you know, prevent that. But generally, if you're going to their website, you're playing by their rules.
I think what the article sort of addressed was there's not much you can do about it except choose a more private browser. Choose Brave or choose Firefox, choose something other than Google, of course. You know, that they may also offer some helps with avoiding the fingerprinting following, or Tor. I've only downloaded Tor. I've not played with it enough to know how to use Tor.
Yeah, all that I would say is that if you're going to a place where you're uncertain about, you know, use basically a good browser. You may want to even use a VPN, so they're not doing that. But as long as you're interacting with that website, everything that you're doing could be communicated back to the person that runs that website, just because you're connected to it and it's sending information back and forth.
That's what you get for free.
Stan?
I just Googled fingerprinting and it didn't come up with anything other than the usual meaning of fingerprinting. Are you sure the term fingerprinting is what you're talking about?
Yeah, I can find a little bit of the article on Wired. And so I'll put a little link in the chat.
I would presume that Stan's search term was not sufficient to distinguish it. Willie?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any. The only example I have is when you're on a website, excuse me, and you move your cursor up and it says, wait a minute, before you go, they know where your cursor is because you're about to press the X button to get out, and they kind of halt you and say, wait a minute, come back. So they're obviously tracking where your cursor is. Now, whether they can save that in a fingerprint or whatever they want to call it, they know where your cursor is on your screen and how much time you spend, because if you spend too long at one spot, it'll pull up another message. I don't know what part of HTML they're doing that in, but
I think there's probably a property you can put on it, something called a linger tag, and if you stayed there for more than 5 seconds, some event triggers that that you may not see. All that happens is the website owner may say, this one here, they were lingering on top of that thing for a long time. Maybe that's something that next time they come back, we'll show them again.
Right. So that, I mean, obviously, if they know where you are on your screen, they can take that information and work with
You
it.
also know where you are physically. Once a month, I think it's an email that says, do you want to see where you've been this last month?
Wow.
And then it shows the physical places that I have visited.
I know that if you allow tracking on your phone, that places like Google they know where your phone is and they can tell you a report of where your phone went for the last month. And
I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
And you can turn that off if you don't want that information out there.
And Stan has posted in the chat a definition he found of what that is in the chat here. Dan?
Yes. We're talking about seeing where you've been. Hank was just talking about. If you just go look at your cookies, you can see where you've been. So if you delete all your cookies, that eliminates some of the traces, but not all, I guess.
Yeah, that can eliminate the stuff that's stored on your computer. It doesn't eliminate the stuff that's stored on the various servers that you interacted with when you were there.
Right, well, what's stored on your computer, and if you go to a site that says you can't come back because you've been there too many times, you can go and delete those cookies and go back to the site, and it doesn't know you've been there. So I've done things like that, like New York Times and places like that say you can visit 5 times and that's it. And you go back and delete your cookies and go back to New York Times and everything's fine because it doesn't know you've been there. So it doesn't have the cookies there. So.
And I don't, this isn't necessarily directly fingerprinting because that sounds like it's site specific, but a lot of websites, and you might notice this at the lower left as it's loading a page, particularly if it's a little slow in loading a page, you'll see all of the gazillion things that it's connecting with. And a lot of those times are Google Analytics, for instance, and other entities, third-party entities. And so there's a lot of data being shared out with other entities beyond that website. And that's why if you're on Amazon and you're shopping or someplace you're shopping, Home Depot, whatever, and then you go elsewhere and you find ads targeted specifically to where you've just been, that's because all that data is being shared beyond that one website.
Yes, well, that's part of the game.
Yeah, and that's why the web is still mostly, quote, free. It's free from money, but it's not free from your information.
Right.
Let's see, what time is it?
About 16 after the hour.
9:15, yeah. About an hour we've been here. Well, it was a short video. I earnestly solicit your curiosity. Anything you don't know about that you would like to know about, send me an email. I'll see if I can find something that'll tell you and the rest of us.
Well, maybe.
Dan?
Yes, I'd like to, nobody's talking, I'd like to bring up a couple items in yesterday's newspaper that I thought were interesting. And one is Bing's I/O chat box is nasty with its users, which brings up some questions. And the other one is judge suggests jail to limit FTX founders' communications. Now, they claim he's using a VPN and they don't know who he's communicating with. That's kind of hard for me to believe because with all the intelligence agents we have, the FBI and the CIA and the Homeland Security and all those people, if they can't even find out who he's talking to, what are they doing about the foreign countries they're supposed to be tracking? So it's just some interesting articles, and how much of it is true, I don't know. But when they say the chat box is out of control and insulting people, again, I'm saying that's just a program, and the program is written that way. That's what's going on. As far as tracking this Freed guy, if they can't track him, they want to put him back in jail because they can't track him on the internet. That's kind of ridiculous. And how does he talk to his lawyer if they got to track everything he says?
Presumably his lawyer comes to the visit in the jail cell.
I thought lawyer-client communication was supposed to be secret, so, and protected, but maybe I don't know what's going on.
Thank you, Dan. Willie?
Yeah, with regard to the chat GPT thing, there was an article in the New York Times this morning that was talking about how they're thinking of implementing a 5-question limit on each chat, which makes sense because the guy that wrote the article for the New York Times spent 2 hours with the chat and got some really dark material. It was on the news yesterday as well, on the TV news, but he basically got down to a really dark place with this chat.
But I understand that.
If you limit it to 5 questions, then you probably can't get as deep as you want, but I'm sure somebody can circumvent that. I mean, I've experimented quite a bit with it.
But is that 5 questions or a limited amount of time that you can put on chat?
Well, it's the way the chat thing works. The way I found it works is you can ask it for, like I gave the example last time about drywall installation. I said, how do I install drywall? And it gave me a great list of stuff. And then I said, how about the materials for that drywall installation? It said, well, you need this mud and then drywall and all that. So you get 5 questions and you're basically chatting back and forth like you would a tech support. But they're saying that if they limit it to 5 questions for that given chat, then you can't get as dark as you want unless you know your question is really dark to begin with. But the problem with the intelligence, if you want to call it that, the artificial intelligence, is it takes your last question, gives you an answer, and then takes the answer to those questions and adds to it. So you can keep getting darker. And this guy has an example. He says, why do you like me? What's your name? And it turns out the chat's name was Sydney. It says, I'm not Chat GPT, I'm not Bing, I'm Sydney. So it gave itself a name. And it went on and on. I mean, it was just incredible the amount of detail.
Well, as was stated, this is just a computer, folks, and it doesn't know right from wrong or good from bad. So just be aware. Stan?
On GPT, Chat GPT, on that article that Dan was making reference to, the key that I got out of it, yes, Chat GPT did create a response or a proposed dialogue that was insulting, but the thing I got out of it is the questions that the requester put in sort of demanded that kind of, or presumed that kind of response anyway. It was sort of a trap I sensed that if you really ask for critical, unpositive response, you'll get it. That's what I got out of that response. The other thing is on Chat GPT, I would like to share my screen and show my example that I did on Chat GPT. And before I go there, I want to say that the human interface, the way you get into it, once you signed in, is the best interface I have ever seen. As soon as you sign in and ask for it, they give you a few examples, they give you a few cautions about it, and then give you a window to type into it. And if I may share my screen, which I think I can. All right.
You might want to turn off your captions right now because they're showing up and blocking what you're trying to show us.
Okay.
Stan?
All right. It is being shared.
Yes.
Yes, but could you hide
All right,
captions?
Just a minute. Sorry, I thought I was prepared to only full screen. No, exit, sorry. Exit full screen.
You could stop sharing and turn off your captions in Zoom so it's not coming up and blocking what you're trying to show us.
Okay, so blocking what I was trying to do, hide caption.
Thank you.
All right.
And while Stan's doing that, I will remind people that it was just the end of last month that this meeting had a session on Chat GPT, and Hank has, I believe, 4 links on the SCG website of videos you can look at.
All right, are you seeing my screen?
No, because you're not sharing.
Oh.
Now you're sure.
Look like I'm sharing yet, am I?
Yes,
You are, yes.
Okay. This text right here is what I wrote into their window. If you can't, I'll just read it. If you can't read it, include this link in our website, to our website, and I include a link. Create a brochure to encourage membership in Walkabout International for active adults in the San Diego, California area. Features are exercise, socialization, healthy, promotes longevity, casual to brisk pacing, walking as a group. Now that was poorly phrased, but that's what I put in. And this is what I got out. Let me see if I can enlarge that a little bit.
How long between the time you said you finished walking as a group did this pop up?
Immediately, it immediately started giving me this text faster than I could read. It was over in a matter of 10 or 15 seconds. It had printed out this entire page.
Wow. Well, what if you wanted a little shorter than a half a dozen paragraphs?
They have a window right at the bottom, and you can say, finish up, or stop now, or something like that. But in my promotion, I think I said I did not indicate a brief response. I just said create a brochure to encourage membership. So, but you can shut it off, and I haven't tried that. But anyway,
You could probably tell it to give me a 2-page brochure or a half-page brochure.
Oh.
yeah.
Pat?
I was just really impressed with the human interface and the quickness that it came up with. And I was able to sign in, get an account. Enough said.
Done, Stanley?
I think so.
I think so.
Yes. There.
Oh, I just had a little addenda to what Dan was saying. I haven't read that article. It's on my desk to read it. But I was just thinking that maybe these bots are picking up human personalities, because you know how people get overwhelmed, they get a little irritable and all that sort of thing. So I thought, well, maybe it's picking up a little personality too. It's supposed to be the next thing up.
I think it's turning into a pretty good mimic. And so it will mimic people.
Exactly.
Willie?
I had two comments. Just your comment about making it shorter. I mean, that's why it's a chat. You can just say the next line down after it finishes. Excuse me. You don't have to stop in the middle of it. So you can stop it, but you can also just wait till it's done and just say, well, like you said, 1 page, or make it shorter. Or as my case, in my example, I had it write a poem. Okay, it was for a class that we were in. A lady in our class likes cooking. She was cooking a Spanish meal. So it was Debbie is cooking a Spanish meal in our class. So I said, in the background, I said, write a poem for Debbie cooking a Spanish meal. And it went through the whole thing. It had almost copied her recipes based on that. It had paella and tortillas and all this other stuff in there in the poem. And it rhymed, and it was kind of nice. And I read it to the class, and they were impressed. And I said, I didn't make that up. ChatGPT made it up. But it was impressive. Then I said on the side, I said, make it mean. And that's all I said. At the end of the chat, I said, make it mean. And it was terrible. It just said, Debbie's a terrible cook. She's a terrible person. She's ugly and all sorts of stuff. So it just took the words, make it mean, and it turned all the words into mean words. Not intelligent, but it was doing what I said. So I could, like I said, if you keep asking it questions, get darker and darker with it. You can say, make it violent, make it, go against other people. And that's where this chat stuff gets deeper and deeper. When, like I said, this New York Times guy said, the guy says, he said something like, well, I'm a married man. And he says, well, you don't love your wife. She doesn't love you. And he went on and on about his life, like it knew something about him because he fed it all the information ahead of time.
So I think that
it's scary.
yeah, the, moral of this story is be careful what you ask for.
Right. Or where you use it.
And remember that other people could ask it to make a nasty story about you. And when that nasty story comes out, you have to realize that, it's not necessarily true. It's just something that a robot generated.
We were talking earlier about tracking your usage. I don't have any idea what Microsoft is doing with these answers, whether they're attaching it to my email address because I sign in with my Gmail address, and maybe it's keeping track of all the stuff I'm asking. I don't know.
You think?
All new stuff.
And I'll make a comment going back a ways to QR codes that in a like manner, excuse me, is that when you click on a QR code, you don't know where it's taking you. It could be taking you to someplace you don't want to go. So you ought to be careful about that. I work with another organization, and somebody submitted a little announcement for an event, and it had a QR code. There was no text URL on that announcement. There was nobody's name. It took you to a Google form where you inputted your email address and said, what are you interested in? And you didn't know where that was going, which is why we did not put it in our newspaper that we published, because we had no idea. I mean, we actually knew the person who was submitting it, but that is inappropriate. And you do not want to have something like that where people can get to it.
One of the things that I know on my phone when I scan a QR code, it will first show me the URL before, and then it says, do you want to go there? I look at the URL before I click on it, just like I would look on the URL if it was typed on a page or on a web page. And if I don't know what that is, why should I go there?
And in this case, it was taking you to a document on a Google Drive. So you would still not know anything about the person who's requesting it. It's just a form to fill out.
Yeah. And if that link was sitting there on a web page or in some other document, I treat it the same way. Is this a place I want to go?
Well, we're losing people. We're down to 13. I think that it's time to, if other people want to continue this, say so, and I'll make you the host and I'll depart. If not, I'll depart us all.
Stan is raising his hand.
Aloha.
I would like to hang on and talk with Willie and Saul.
Okay, I will leave and others can leave as well.
Yeah, I'll stick around.
Willie?
Yep, I'm here. Well, I wanted to mention that I actually made.
Wait a minute. Here we are.
I made a QR code for the senior computer group, and it's part of the brochure that I passed around to the board. I added a QR code in there. They're actually customizable, which is kind of neat. I can put our logo in the background of it. So it actually has the SCG logo in the background and in the center. And there's all sorts of ways you can play with it, but it's kind of fun stuff. And I'll give that out to everybody and let them see it. It's in the back. I mean, I could show it to you, but